Have you ever wondered how arrays are created in Java? Arrays, the humble heroes of Java, are powerful tools that store multiple values in a single variable. Imagine having a room where you can store all your books, sorted in any order you want, accessible at a moment's notice. That's what an array in Java offers you. It's like a magical storage room, a cornerstone in the world of Java programming. Stick around if you want to learn how to create arrays in Java. Arrays might seem complex, but they are simply containers that store elements of the same type. Imagine an array as a shelf. Each shelf can hold a certain type of item, like books or cups. In the world of Java programming, an array works in a similar way. An array in Java is a dynamically created object that can hold a fixed number of values of a single type. It's like a container with a fixed number of slots, each slot holding a value of the same type. The type could be any valid Java data type, such as int, char, or even an object. Arrays are incredibly useful in programming as they allow us to store multiple values in a single variable, making our code cleaner and more efficient. Now that you understand what an array is, let's dive into how to create one. Creating an array in Java involves 3 main steps. Let's dive into these steps one by one: declaration, construction, and initialization. First things first, declaration. This is where you tell Java that you want an array. You do this by specifying the type of elements the array will hold, followed by square brackets, and then the name you want to give the array. For instance, let's say we're creating an array of integers. We would write int myArray. Here, the type is int, and myArray is the name we've chosen for our array. Next, we move on to construction. This is where you define the size of the array, or in other words, how many elements it can hold. We do this using the new keyword, followed by the type, and the size in square brackets. To continue with our previous example, if we want our array to hold 5 integers, we would write myArray =new int. This tells Java to reserve enough memory to hold 5 integers for our array. Finally, we come to initialization. This is when you fill the array with actual values. There are a couple of ways to do this. One way is to specify the values one by one, like so: myArray =10, myArray =20, myArray =30, myArray =40, myArray =50. Here the number in square brackets is the index of the element in the array, starting from 0. So myArray is the first element, myArray is the second, and so on. Another way is to specify all the values at once when you construct the array, like this: int myArray =10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This does the same thing as the previous example, but in a more concise way. And there you have it. Declaration, construction, and initialization, the 3 steps to creating an array in Java. You can use these steps to create arrays of any type and size you want. With these steps, you can create any array you want, but how can you manipulate these arrays? Once you've created an array, you can manipulate it in various ways. Let's dive right in. To access an element in an array, you use its index. Remember, array indices always start at 0. So if you want to access the first element of your array, you'll use the index 0. Let's say we have an array named fruits, and we want to access the first element. You'd write fruits. This will give you the first fruit in your array. Modifying an element in an array is just as easy. You simply assign a new value to a specific index. For instance, if you want to change the first fruit in our fruits array to apple, you'd write fruits =apple. Now, when you access fruits, you'll get apple instead of the original value. Now, what if you want to go through all the elements in your array? That's where loops come in. A simple for loop can help you achieve this. You start your loop at index 0 and continue until you reach the end of the array. Each iteration of the loop gives you access to the next element in the array. But how do you know when you've reached the end of your array? That's where the length property comes in. The length property tells you how many elements are in your array. You can use this property to set the limit for your loop. For example, if you're using a for loop to go through your fruits array, you'd set the loop to continue until it has reached fruits length. Manipulating arrays, whether it's accessing, modifying, or looping through them, is a common task in Java programming, and it's not just arrays. These concepts apply to other types of data structures as well, so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and play around with arrays. Practice accessing and modifying elements and looping through arrays. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become. Manipulating arrays is essential in Java programming, and now you know how to do it. Let's recap what we've learned about creating arrays in Java. An array, in essence, is a container that holds a fixed number of values of a single type. It's an incredibly useful tool in programming because it allows you to store multiple values in a single variable, making your code cleaner and more efficient. We dove into the steps to create an array, starting with declaring it. We learned that the declaration has two components, the type of the array and its name. Then, we moved on to allocating memory for the array using the new keyword. This step is crucial because it sets the size of the array, determining how many elements it can hold. Once we've declared and allocated our array, we can initialize it, filling it with values. We can do this in several ways, whether it's during declaration, using a loop, or even using an array literal, where we list out the elements between braces. And of course, we can't forget about manipulating arrays. We learned several techniques such as accessing an element, changing an element, and looping through an array. We also touched on some common pitfalls to avoid, like trying to access an index that doesn't exist. With this knowledge, you're now better equipped to handle arrays in your Java programming journey. Happy coding!